Awesome. Thank you, Bentley. I'm glad to be here. Again, I'll be talking about XR and the future of our reality. And just as a disclaimer, when I talk about XR, that term, it just means virtual reality, augmented reality, and I think everything in between. But with that, let's get started. And I want to talk about how this talk will probably be different compared to other topics in tech talks. We're going to be open-ended, example-driven, and if you have questions, please ask them. Discussion is encouraged. Okay, bit of an intro of myself. I did my undergrad here at Bentley in 2016 with a major in marketing and a double minor in CIS and entrepreneurship. After Bentley, I sort of went through this tech and entrepreneurship journey, and I eventually founded a XR studio named LightView that focuses on XR education for the K through 12 audience. I won't be talking about that journey here today because I want to kind of focus on how XR can relate to you guys. Okay, for the past 8 years, I've been working in the VR and AR field, and Professor Mark kind of spoiled my first question. I'm sure you guys have all tried, or most of you have tried VR and AR, but who had a positive experience with AR or VR? So you liked what you saw. Okay, a good majority, awesome. Now, virtual reality has sort of shifted over the years. Like in 2015, it was like a new big thing, and then now it's like been overshadowed by AI. And as a result, we sort of see a lot of different words that have been sticking to virtual reality, like motion sickness, metaverse, avatars, holograms. But when we take all those words away, I really want you guys to talk about and think about virtual reality as a medium that encourages user movement. Because for those who have tried virtual reality, chances are you're moving your head, you're moving your arms, you're moving your whole body in a way that's different than you were using a phone or a desktop, which is where your body is probably very static. And here's another question for you guys. Who has read a business case study? Okay, so I should have pinged my audience before. I know you guys are probably first years, but for those who have read a business case study, how many of you have liked it? Oh, good for you. You do you. Yeah. Okay, well, this is what my friend Daniel Landau was talking about during his presentation on his own company. So he says business case studies are, of course, incredibly important, but also incredibly dry. There had to be a better way for business students to retain all this knowledge. And he founded a company called Avris Technologies. Now, Avris is education platform that takes users inside business case study material and allows them to make narrative choices. And this is sort of what it looks like. We have like very, simple hardware compared to the Oculus Quest 3 now, but Avris has shown that over the 3-month pilot period, they've increased case knowledge retention by up to 35% in their students, which is actually really effective. Here's another quote. Safety is our #1 priority. We have to teach people to be safer and make that info stick. This is Mario Hark, the CEO of XPO Logistics. Now, many of you probably don't know what XPO Logistics is, but it's one of the biggest companies in the world. It's a Fortune 200 company. And as you guessed, it's a logistics company that is in charge of moving heavy, big things from warehouses to other warehouses. That's probably the most common scenario. But when I was working at XPO Logistics, I was brought on as a virtual reality engineer focused on marketing applications. But when Mario was talking about safety and training, we pivoted and created a suite of VR training applications for safety and efficiency in the workplace. So this is a snapshot of my avatar in VR, like lowering these bars in a freight truck. And I'm doing that so that other freight can be loaded on top of those bars, again, within this freight truck. And there's a safety process involved, and I won't go into that. But this is just an example of what a VR training application looks like at an enterprise level. And as a result of our rollout, we decreased accident rates in warehouses by 15 to 20%. And I know those numbers are kind of small, but to me, that means that people are just less hurt because they use virtual reality. We want to channel grief, anger, and negative energy into something more positive and thoughtful. This is Nanea Reeves, the founder and CEO of Trip VR. Trip VR is a consumer, application that focuses on mental wellness and well-being. And thanks to her application, this is like a screenshot of what you see within Trip. It's sort of like a meditative exercise for consumers. But they've helped over 1 million people on their personal wellness journey. So why am I actually talking about all these examples? Well, I really want to break the stigma that XR is only for entertainment. Because as we've seen, people's lives get better, and people's lives get better because of XR. It's that simple. No, but in reality, I think XR is a solution for changing mental and physical perspective. The way we think about business case studies, and the way we behave in potentially dangerous situations. But what's the future of this futuristic technology? Well, I really do think that XR will become an integrator. It'll be integrative to our daily lives, just like our phones and laptops are. And I know that sounds scary and almost like Black Mirror-esque, but I want you to be skeptical, but also be optimistic about that change. And here's some examples of that. This is Flavor. It's a mixed reality cooking assistant application where you put on this Quest 3, you take a snapshot of your fridge, and then the headset will identify ingredients that are available to you and actually suggest recipes that you can cook with those ingredients, which is kind of crazy when you think about like technology now. And so if there was an amazement gasp, that's great. But this app will just kind of take you through like the steps it takes to actually cook whatever you want to cook. And you have this like little assistant here in that corner called Martha. You can ask it questions and hopefully it can make you be a better chef. This project was built by a team of 3 in the span of 3 months, and it took home the grand prize at last year's Meta Platform Hack, which is really impressive. This is Crata. It's a mixed reality pottery assistant. And what it does is takes pottery enthusiasts back in time to learn traditional pottery techniques. I was part of this project. You can see my avatar right there. I'm sort of walking a user through their own pottery techniques. In the middle there, we see where my colleagues use a digital overlay to help shape their actual pottery project. And lastly, we have a way to like almost digitize and share your creation. I was a part of a team of 6 that did this in 6 weeks, and we took home grand prize at the XRDC hack that featured this past year. And thanks to the, momentum of this project, we'll be demoing this project at AWE this year, this June, which is short for the Augmented World Expo. So if any of you are there or want to be there, just let me know. Okay, and that's sort of the start of these integrative apps. We have Chloro, which is a mixed reality app that helps you take care of your plants. Book Club VR, which is exactly what it says. Comic Quest, which turns 2D comic books into like a 3D presentation and panels. And the most interesting, I think, which is Doggo Quest, which gamifies the activity of walking your dog, which is absolutely mental. And all these applications are becoming more and more probable because of the form factor that XR is shifting into. When we think about XR and VR and AR, we maybe think of those bulky headsets, or I guess headsets that are still bulky. But really the future of this technology are a glasses form factor. We have the Meta Orion glasses, which they're trying to debut something this year, but I think it's at least like 1 or 2 years away. But what we have today is actually the Snapchat Spectacles. The Snapchat Spectacles are a pair of glasses that are only available to a select number of developers, but I actually have a pair today. So if you want to go ahead and demo something, I'm happy to do so after this talk. I won't do anything now because I think the Wi-Fi isn't the best in this room, but yeah, please let me know. All right, just a recap of that takeaway, and that is the XR is shifting into our everyday use cases. And that kind of brings us to our first break. So we still have some things to go over in terms of like how XR can relate to you, but any questions so far around anything I've talked about? Yes?
You mentioned the glasses. There was a time when there was Google Glass. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Oh man, that's a different talk entirely. But the Google Glass was a really interesting device. We used the Google Glass for enterprise use cases. It's always interesting to understand when technology has faltered, but the same form factor, the same type of technology is now being developed today in different kinds of like products like the Meta Orion or the Snapchat glasses. All I can comment on that right now is that I think it was a bit too early for its time, and the price point for even enterprises was a bit too high, which kind of like created a lot of friction in terms of use cases for that device. Yeah.
What do the Snapchat ones do?
Okay, so the Snapchat ones are very much consumer glasses. They fit like right on your face, like I'm demoing now, and they are completely stitched off. So they're spatial in that like you can actually interact with the UI that's like in front of you. The only thing that I want to mention with these Snapchat glasses, or even the Orion glasses, is that the field of view, so the amount of things that you can see that are digitized, becomes smaller and smaller as you like shrink down this form factor. So I know that we're all used to maybe like seeing these like virtual displays and 3D environments in headsets, but with these Snapchat glasses, you'll probably see like a rectangle view, which is okay for now. I think it's fine, but I'm curious to know what you think when you demo this after this talk. Okay, I'll move on. So how can you as students get started building these XR products? Well, I really do think that building an XR product is just like building any other software product. We need both creative and technical talent. So whether you're a marketing major with some creative skills or a finance major or you know how to code, all that really helps when building XR projects. Luckily for us, there are some low or no code solutions out there that help us get started in XR. Some of those prototyping tools are Shapes XR, which is like a spatial layout platform that I think some of the CIS Sandbox folks have already tried, maybe, hopefully. We also have Bezier and Spline, which are more design related, but still very functional for the XR ecosystem. We also have different kinds of engines like Unity, Unreal, Lens Studio, and Godot. Now, I won't go through the entirety of all those engines and the pros and cons of each, but all you know is that those engines do a pretty decent job of combining creative assets with like more technical interactive coding to make a more robust XR product. All right, so as Professor Mark also mentioned, I did a presentation about shapes in Shapes, and this is what some of that presentation looked like. And if you're not familiar with Shapes XR, just think of it like Figma or any other creator tool like Canva. So in Canva, you can like drag and drop assets from like a sidebar into your like actual canvas. And Shapes is very similar. You have like a library of objects and colors you can pick. So all those chairs, those arrows, I kind of uploaded those images, but like I think everything else was actually done in Shapes XR. Now, Shapes XR is a prototyping tool that I use to communicate spatial ideas that are just like hard to explain like verbally. And hopefully this will give you an example. So this is an example of like a way to annotate 3D construction or 3D layouts in Shapes XR. I'm using like a Google Map tile of Bentley's campus to like illustrate that point there. This is like what I was thinking here was like these two people are using their VR glasses or XR glasses, and in real time, like modifying Jenison's construction layout. So this is like a concept of what that might look like, the annotations that they might drop, the voice notes or collaboration tools or whatever. And this is kind of interesting. So this is a prototype that I created that illustrates what I think the future of the trading room might look like. So this communicates the idea of two people putting on their XR glasses and analyzing the price of a stock over time. All right, so I just want to end that. I know you guys are all CS, or a majority of you say yes, but we really need more problem solvers and not just more programmers or coders. And really in XR, when looking at the fastest growing companies in XR of last year, about 40% of the staff were non-engineers, which is kind of crazy and really awesome. That includes examples like Curio, which is a company that creates immersive experiences for museums and audiences. Fundamental VR, which is a VR training platform for surgeons. And Squinch, which is a company that combines AI and augmented reality to create visuals that identify machines and machine parts. And really hitting that home is that XR thrives due to cross-disciplinary talent and interest. You don't need to be a coder to be in VR, but we encourage you to be interested. And that's my talk. I feel like it went so fast. All right, anyways, I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you want to come up on stage after and try the Snapchat spectacles, I'm happy to do that too.
Let's see questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I was wondering, so if this is incorporated in the business world, how would that work for the customers that they're like helping? Would that make a better connection, or do you think it just get worse?
Wait, sorry, do you mind repeating the first part of that question?
So if this were to work in the business world, and let's say it's like they're trying to help a customer, how would that work with like connection-wise and like socially? Like how would that work emotionally, basically?
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, do you mean like if I'm a business, I'm creating something for a client, what are the like social and emotional aspects to that application? Okay, good question. I'm gonna just cycle back to one of my most training for, oh my God, there we go. So I'll talk about this example to start. So I was in charge of creating extra applications to train people on how to be safer on the warehouse floor. Now, I wasn't the one that was using this. I was developing something on a headset, and that headset will be used by actual employees. Now, this whole system was a bit different than maybe what you were talking about, but I'm happy to answer a question if I'm not answering the question. So in this example, we had almost like a meeting or like a safety training program. Imagine everyone in a room with a headset connected to a TV, and one person going inside the headset and kind of explaining what this virtual reality program is actually all about. This is just an avatar of myself doing things, but to pilot our safety programs, we went ahead and actually demoed the continuity of our VR software program on a screen to make it more socially acceptable and more familiar with someone who might not be familiar with VR. In the case of our employees, they skewed older, like 40s and 50s. That's too young. Like 55 to 70, there we go. It's almost like explaining that thing to your dad. Your dad probably wouldn't want to put on this VR experience if he didn't, or if they didn't know what was going to happen. And so I think sharing what someone saw in a VR headset on screen was probably the best way to kind of break that barrier. Does that answer your question? Okay, let me know if it doesn't though. Yes.
What are some challenges you faced while going through this career?
Okay, so good question. I think the biggest challenge was the volatility of the industry. Like the industry is sometimes so fragile, and I'm talking about the XR industry in specific. In the beginning of these days, I felt like the XR industry was on the heels of the marketing buzzwords and the investments that were happening in like 2018 and 2019. So think about like when everything was the metaverse, like that kind of stuff. And then Facebook rebranded to Meta and all that kind of stuff. So we actually benefited a lot from those buzzwords. But now that AI has sort of taken over this industry, especially the fuel of this industry in terms of what was happening, no one is really talking about XR. And so a lot of developers and a lot of companies are sort of doing things on a lower scale, more privately, more in-house. And as a result, the XR industry sort of like gets a bit unstable because not many people know about it. And if you're asking someone to invest in it, they don't know what's going to happen.
How has the rise of generative AI impacted or changed the XR industry? There are so many more applications now that where your avatars are AI enabled to make it seem more real, but that wasn't. But when people were starting to use headsets, AI wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, I mean, talking about avatars specifically, I think AI is starting to fill in the gaps for what we call like user input. And so a big thing is like face, eye, and hand tracking. Previously, all those components need to be like almost like neatly integrated into like a really mobile form factor. But now we're using AI to almost estimate like hand gestures or where your eyes are looking. I know that Vision Pro does something very similar. So it actually, in terms of a technology and hardware standpoint, it offloads a lot of the processing power to something like an AI chipset. In terms of like software, I think it does a really good job of generating, like, quickly generating like skyboxes, environments, materials, textures, but it has a really hard time developing and creating like those more spatial experiences. As a counterpoint, like I feel like if you were to give ChatGPT a task to create like a stopwatch app, like those examples exist today, and ChatGPT can actually grab examples from those existing sources. But if you ask ChatGPT to create like a spatial app where if you turn your wrist you can see a watch, like it will struggle because there's really no resources out there to grab from. So it's sort of like a cat and mouse situation or a chicken and egg situation. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you ever want to like chat or work with me, please let me know. I'm happy to collaborate. And that's it. Oh, cool. Oh, yes.